to go? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 4th, 2025 meeting of the Planning Commission for Cache County. Glad you're here. Thanks. Packed house tonight. Just a quick reminder, we do have a pretty aggressive agenda tonight, and so we're going to try to move through that as judiciously as we can, but realize we do have a lot of stuff on the agenda. We will begin tonight with opening remarks and the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by Chris Sands.
I'll give my opening remarks in the form of a poem by local poet Star Coolbrook. This is called Last Graze, which may sound familiar this time of year. They move the cattle out of Cottonwood Thanksgiving weekend, rounding them up on horseback and four-wheelers, channeling the bawling sea of matted red and black onto one long dirt road, packed with first snow. Last graze of the season, droughted grass, bitten down to nubs, coneflower tops eaten off, leaves crackling, stream bed a slog of green mud. We gape at the choreographed hubbub of dogs, men, and 1,200-pound beasts, milling and flowing waves of sound carrying over the air long after they've passed. Cows bellowing for their calves, tearing at strands of roadside chaff as they walk, brawny cattle, spindle-legged, and pooping wildly on their way to what they have no way of knowing. In spring, we'll find the stream renewed, snow melt coursing down from every draw, grasses beginning where bluebells have wilted. They'll bring the cattle in again by Easter, or maybe Memorial Day, waiting for weather favorable to grazing, and by summer, they'll walk under maples, shaded from sun, black flies tumbling thick through the air around them. Thank you, and if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sands, for that opening. We will begin this evening with a review of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are not. I would just ask for your patience. Connor is out sick today, so I think I'm on top of everything, but we'll see.
Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. And we also have the minutes to review from the November 6th meeting. I'll entertain a motion if we to approve the agenda and the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, moving along. We have one item on our consent agenda, just FYI for those in here viewing. Consent agenda items are ones that have met all of the requirements, unless there is a need to discuss that one. In general, those are just, we will approve the consent agenda. Was there anyone here tonight that wanted to speak about the North and South Sage Ponds? And we'll start with, are you the proponent on that, or?
The representative.
Okay, all right. If, unless you have something that will add, it would probably be beneficial to you if we just leave it on the consent agenda.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hearing that, commissioners, anything we need to discuss on item number 1? Okay, entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I would make the motion that we approve a 6-month time extension for the request of the proposed North and South Sage Ponds CUP.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, on to our regular action items. Item number 2 is a public hearing for the Dutson rezone, and we're on time. So, Angie, want to tell us about the Dutson rezone?
Yes, so this is a request to, if you want, just wait till we're done with the staff report and then we'll call you up. It's a request to rezone 15.12 acres from the A10 to the RU2 zone. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up there we are. The RU2 would allow a maximum potential of 7 buildable lots. Prior to June of this year, the parcels were actually under one parcel number. However, because the road divided the parcel, the recorder's office gave them separate parcel numbers as they were a non-contiguous split. But is not considered an unpermitted subdivision as the legal description had described both parcels separately. The average parcel size in the surrounding area, adjacent to the subject parcels, there's 13 parcels without a home, an average size of about 7 acres. Once you extend that to a quarter-mile buffer, there's 2 parcels with a home on an average of 53.4 acres. And then when you extend that to half a mile, parcels with a home, there are 6 with an average of 19.4 acres. Properties to the north are a mix of residential and agricultural. Properties to the east, south, and west are primarily agricultural. The nearest RU2 zone is more than 7 miles southeast of the subject property. It's the Birch Hollow subdivision, which is just west of Smithfield on the state road and about 800 west. That was approved in 2017. These subject parcels are not located within the future annexation area of a municipality. And the county code does not currently specify appropriate locations for the RU2 zone, but does contain general guidelines and the purpose. The purpose for the RU2 is allow for residential development in a moderately dense pattern that can allow for rural subdivision. The type of development should be located and designed to not unreasonably impede adjacent ag uses, nor to unreasonably conflict with development standards of adjacent municipalities. And they must be served by suitable public roads and have adequate provision of public services. So as we look to our general plan to the future land use map, it identifies this area as agriculture and ranching, which has a preferred land use of rural
This
residential.
message is brought to you by Apple Card. Apple Card members.
At densities of less than 1 unit per, at
Bring
densities
you
of,
cash on
less than 1 unit per 10 acres. Access to the parcels from 6400 west, it's classified as a major local road. Provides access to ag and residential properties and provides through access to SR 142 and Newton Dam. It is maintained year-round by the county with a speed limit of 40 miles an hour. Has an existing width of 20 feet and a 66-foot right-of-way, but it is substandard as to shoulders, both paved and gravel. It also has frontage on 7900 North, along the parcel to the west of the road. That is also classified as a minor local, provides access to ag lands and 1 single-family dwelling. It is maintained only in the summer and has an existing width of 15 feet with a surface and a 50-foot right-of-way. So it's considered substandard as to travel lanes, right-of-way, shoulder, clear zone, and material. Public notices were posted. Newton did not provide a comment, but since the staff report was drafted, we have received 2 public comments which have been uploaded to the Google Drive. Both are opposed to the rezone. So staff has not provided a recommendation, but has drafted options for you, both for an approval or recommendation of denial to the county council. And then, as you know, we have a proposed ordinance amendment on our agenda later today that would require an RU2 be at least no more than a fourth of an acre from a mile, from a municipal boundary. And as you can see from here, the Newton boundary is about here in relation to the properties up.
So what is that distance then, Angie?
The recommended draft ordinance that we'll be talking about later is a quarter of a mile.
Is a quarter, but what is the distance
Oh, I'm
from,
sorry.
from the municipal
It is
municipal?
more than a quarter, but I can tell you. I can stop moving, yes.
Okay.
0.4 miles. But that concludes staff's report if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any questions about the staff report?
Not this time.
Okay. This is a, scheduled to be a public hearing. Do we have a motion to start the public hearing?
I move we open the public hearing.
Have a motion? Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. This is a public hearing on this item, and so we will open up the microphone to those of you who want to speak about this. Generally, we allow the proponent to speak first, and then you can speak. We ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And we also ask you if you have something that's already been said, we don't need to hear the same thing multiple times. We get that, so we use our time most judiciously. We do have a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight, so if the proponent wants to speak first.
So my plans with the land is me and my brother and
State
sister.
your name just for the
Oh,
record.
Paul Dutson. So the land is where I want to build and my brother wants to build. And then on the other side is where my sister wants to build. We want to be able, me and my brother, to keep it into Greenbelt. So we want to be able to take an acre from the other side. So on the one side that has the 10, we want to do that it's 5.5, and then he would have 4.5, and then we take an acre from the other side, which would give him 5.5, to keep those two parcels into Greenbelt. And then my sister would just have the 4, which as soon as she builds would take it out of Greenbelt. And so that's what my concern was. And then where it says to the no record up there, I have talked to the neighbors and we're cleaning up our lines. And then right where the road is, there's also a parcel there that we need to get cleaned up too. And I guess we need to have what my engineer and survey guy says is that we need to get you guys also to sign off on that, where the road is. And that's pretty much about it.
Okay. Any questions for the proponent? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this project proposal?
Yeah, Craig Rigby, I'm mayor-elect of Newton. We did submit an opposition. She said she submitted it yesterday. I have the letter here.
Yeah, I apologize.
submitted.
Oh, that's for the water, not for the ducks.
Dutson rezone.
Oh, is it?
We did the water as well.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah,
So
like-
we did two oppositions.
I'm
So-
sorry, the planner was out sick yesterday and,
Okay, should I read that into record or?
yeah, if you'd like to, or just briefly summarize it and then I can add it to the.
Okay, I mean, I can briefly summarize that Newton, as a town, as a mayor and a council, is opposed to this rezone. I mean, we understand why the individual wants to do it, but we're concerned about the precedent that it sets. This would create effectively an island subdivision within prime agricultural ground. This is ground that people are making their living doing agricultural on. This is not close to a community. As you saw, it's a half a mile away. It's not on the boundary of a community. We feel that it would be a bad precedent. We're also concerned about the roadway improvements that would need to be made. And we have concerns about water. As a town, we have actively been seeking for secondary sources of water. with the continued building that is occurring in the northwest of the town. It is in our aquifer, and every well that could possibly take away from our community, which is already we're very concerned about our water situation. So for that reason, we are very opposed to this rezone, and thanks for your time.
Anyone else?
Claire Christiansen, resident of Newton. I guess my concern is, I talked to Connor a couple of times, and I sent him an email. I never heard back, so I wondered, is there, in your packet, do you have a letter from me?
Yes.
And do you have one from Kelly Myers?
Yes.
Okay. So that's most of those things that I have to say. We just really appreciate the staff report, and I don't know that anybody says it any better than them. I thought the staff report where it says that it's against the Cache County General Plan. I mean, in my mind, that says it all. If it's against the general plan and what we're trying to do, it is in the middle of the ag zone, and as has been stated, everybody makes their living there. I sent some pictures also of the road. On the road going up there, there's some 6-inch fall offs. The road's really, even though it's recently been redone, there's many areas along the way that there's at least a 6-inch fall off, and Tuesday night bike riders have quite a time dodging all the tractors and the traffic. And again, talking about the precedents that would set from the town boundary of Newton up to the cemetery, there are 11 more parcels besides those two that if you set that precedence, then everybody, how could you ever deny them to all go R2 also? And so it's really a dangerous situation for the road, and also for the water, and also the precedent would set for all the people from that town boundary to Newton, and then from the cemetery more. There's more parcels too. But to have 13 parcels that close, we'll end up being like North Logan. We'll have to change our name trying to figure out if we're Logan or Newton or who we are. If we have all 13 parcels have RU status from the cemetery down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Oh.
I'm Tarina Lund. I'm for this because, I'm sorry, are there other people farming your land, or are you farming it? I guess I'm confused.
If you direct your comments to the commission.
Well, I'm just confused because I would think that he would know how to farm his own land, and I thought his land was his land. I'm just perplexed at why other people can say what you can do with your own land. I'm so confused. I thought this was America. And I understand water concerns, I really do. And I'm a little confused at the whole, why do people closer to a town get more rights than the people that are further away from a town? And I'm really just trying to understand that, council. And I think you're gonna speak to that further tonight. So, I guess I'm just in support of people doing what they want with their own land. And I understand that you don't want that to infringe on other people, but I really don't want other people to infringe on me. And so I am for citizens getting to do what they want with their own land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Griffin. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I just come here to learn. Yeah, I feel like I need to say something. I am a lifetime farmer. Me and my wife are both, our whole married lives have been dairy farmers. Neither one of us have ever had a secondary job. Farming put our meals on the table, and that's what we've done our whole lives. I do drive my tractor on the streets, and I know there's more and more traffic all the time. To me, you know, we do the best we can to be safe and, you know, try and get along with each other. It's not our favorite thing to have more traffic, but I don't put my head in the sand and think we're going to have less traffic. So we have to get along and learn to work with that. But I am, and I know there's water concerns, but you guys have things in line, and if we meet those boxes and check them off, then we should be good to go. And I'm totally for people doing what they want with their land in a reasonable way, you know, and that's all I'll say.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
The motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in, oh, did we have an? Commission, you okay with one
So
more?
the land that I'm going to be taking is only a half an acre of each land, so like they're concerned about the thing. Kelly Griffin farms my land, and I have given him permission to farm my land still the day he doesn't want to. And I even told him that I won't even charge him. I says, you're taking care of my land, you can make a profit off of it, you can do what you want. And I've been approved by Wells, so the water thing, I mean, I have shares and stuff with my water rights and all that. And so I know they said that there's a considerate thing that the water is low or so, but yeah, whatever I need to do to make the city approve me or to say that yes, that will work, that's what I'll need to do. So, but yeah, I'm moving here also because I have animals. I want more area to have my farm and stuff. That's the reason.
Okay. We had a motion on the table here. Do we stand by the motion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We do have an aggressive public hearing agenda tonight, and we're a little bit behind, so we're going to move on and have all the public hearings, and then move along. Item number 3, public hearing, and we'll have our discussions after. Item number 3, public hearing for the Smithfield Safe Storage. Angie.
This is a request to rezone 6 acres. 6 acres from agricultural to industrial. A rezone to industrial would allow for a variety of uses with approval of a zoning clearance or conditional use permit, including but not limited to storage and warehousing, transport services, general manufacturing, and vehicle repair. Adjacent uses to the property to the north and south are a mix of residential and agricultural. East of the subject property is residential, and to the west it's primarily agricultural uses. The closest industrial zone is the TYJ storage zone, which was approved in 2023. It's approximately a quarter mile to the east of the subject property. But it has not been developed due to the required road improvements that would have to be done in order to move forward. The property is located within the Smithfield City future annexation area. The purpose of the industrial zone is to provide locations where manufacturing, processing, warehousing can be carried on with minimum conflict of deleterious effect upon surrounding properties, and again must be adequately serviced by suitable public roads and adequate public services. The future land use map identifies this area as agricultural and ranching, with industrial uses being a discouraged use. However, because it is in the annexation area of Smithfield City, the land use is also identified as an urban expansion overlay. Smithfield was contacted and they submitted a written comment that they didn't have any particular concerns about the rezone, but we're concerned about the alignment of 800 West, which you can see kind of jogs here. Access is by 4600 North and 800 West. They're both classified as minor collectors. 4600 North serves as a through access from Benson to Highway 91 and has a speed limit of 55 miles an hour. It's considered substandard as to paved and gravel shoulders as well as clear zone. 800 West also has an existing 20-foot width and is also considered substandard as to paved and gravel shoulders. We did receive one public comment in support of the project by the property owners themselves. That was uploaded to the shared drive. And then just as a reminder, we considered a similar rezone just to the south of this property called Spark Ventures I think maybe in September. And that was recommended for denial and denied by the county council, primarily due to substandard roads and lack of adequate services. So that concludes staff's report. Again, we haven't made a recommendation, but have provided options for a recommendation of denial or approval to county council.
Thanks, Angie. Okay. I want to hear from the applicant first. Is the applicant
You want to open the public
here?
hearing
And we
first
can
or hear
open
from
that.
them?
I don't know. If you have an opinion.
I think on the last one we opened it
We did.
first, so
We
I'll
did.
make a motion to open a public hearing for the Smithfield Safe Storage Rezone.
The motion? Second. Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Is the applicant here for the Smithfield Safe Storage? Do you want to address the commission?
Travis Baldwin. We're just looking to, there's storage units already along that road, about I think the storage units are maybe, a half mile away. You can see them right there. We're not looking to do a bunch of storage units. We're just looking for parking for RVs and things like that, and it has to be rezoned industrial. So that's what we're looking for. Nothing major, anything like that, but if you have questions, you can ask.
Any questions for the proponent? Okay, thank you. All right, anyone here to speak on the Smithfield Safe Storage proposal? No? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Oh.
My name's Stan Checketts. My property is just north of this plan zoning, and I would say that this has to fall in the same thing that we did 2 months ago on the property below this. Until we fix the roads out there, I think the rezones all have to be denied on almost everything out there. Just because 800 West is a horrible road. If you guys want to come drive it, it'd be great. But, and 4600, the other project hasn't happened because of how poor the road is. So, because of road concerns until we decide to fix that. Also, where that jog is, about once a year I get to pull a car back up onto the road as I'm headed into work, because they've come straight through that intersection and land in the property they want to turn into storage units. So, I'm against it.
I'm Tom Gibbets. We own the red section you got there with, we have cattle and horticulture, greenhouse. Mr. Checketts is right about the corner being there. We did talk to somebody in the county a few months ago this summer about straightening the road. I said I'd be willing to sell some of our property to straighten that road. The county indicated that they weren't going to do anything for 5 years. So we've lived there for 45 years, And it's, the agriculture is the best fit for this. We tried to help the person that bought that land. On all your things, it says 6 acres, but it's really 5.92 or something like that. So he wanted to put 3 homes on it, I believe, but you wouldn't let him. But yet, in another case, northeast of Smithfield, you let people build on half an acre or a fourth of an acre. So I don't know why the county wouldn't let this person divide that into 3 lots and have 3 homes. And the similar homes to the east there, you've got all those homes there. So I think if you'd let him build 3 homes, that would be a better fit for that area. But I don't think we should have industrial in an agriculture area. Thank you.
I'm Scott Richens. I live on 8th West, north of that, across the road from Mr. Checkett's. I agree. We just went over this a couple of months ago with the storage sheds. Not sure what a RV storage, is that going to look like a homeless encampment? I mean, we can all move to LA and get that view. I'm against it. The roads are horrible. The area by Mr. Gibbons' place, I guess the good thing is, Tom, is the road's so freaking bumpy, you got to slow down to 2 miles an hour to even get through that intersection. But I'm definitely against it. You know, if he wanted to build a home, you know, I'm a property rights guy, but commercial, there's so much commercial property available, go put it in the commercial areas.
Any other comments?
My name's Kelly King. Excuse me. I live exactly east of this proposal here. And so it's probably going to affect me the most. Not only is that road bad, I think you're trying to squeeze a industrial project in on where people are trying to create a small community type area. I think we should keep industrial with industrial and residential with residential. I also feel like that the development of this is going to greatly depreciate my property value. Me and my wife are a year away from retiring, and this is going to affect us very much on if we ever want to downsize or move. It's going to affect our value of lifestyle if we try to sell our home to live off the capital. So I ask that you keep industrial and business with industrial and business and residential with residential. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move we close the public hearing.
Have a motion? We have a
Somebody
second?
stood up, but I headed the wrong direction, so.
We have a motion?
I'll second that.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to next public hearing. Item number 4, Water and Sewage Requirements Ordinance Amendment.
Yes, so we discussed this at last month's Planning Commission meeting. It's a proposed ordinance amendment that was submitted by an architectural firm pursuing a project within a source water protection zone 2. The amended ordinance would still prohibit, so per the code currently, any portion of a septic system is not allowed in the source water protection zone 2. The amended ordinance as proposed by the applicant would still prohibit conventional on-site wastewater systems such as a typical septic system with drain fill in that zone 2. However, it would allow an alternative wastewater system that meets certain requirements, including meeting the Division of Water Quality requirements and must be approved by River Health Department, And the proposed system must be under a renewable operating permit considered to be adequately controlled. And the operating permit must specify performance standards and track pollutant loadings discharged. And the proposed alternative on-site wastewater system must be approved by the owners of the public water system connected to the Zone 2, where the wastewater system is proposed. Staff has received a number of public comments, both written and phone calls in the last few days. As this was a discussion item in November, most of the public comments were generally in favor from private property owners whose properties were located in that Zone 2, and they've been unable to develop their properties in the manner they want. Public comments since we send out notices have been primarily opposed, with only one comment from Nibley City in support, so long as the recommended text amendments were maintained. Newtontown, as we briefly reflected on, they did submit a letter in opposition, as well as the mayor-elect and a council member of Lewiston City, along with a number of residents in the Cove and Lewiston area. Those comments were emailed to you today and uploaded to the shared drive. The comments consisted of the necessity to protect recharge areas and pathways that feed into those public water wells or springs, and concerns that once contamination occurs, remediation is extraordinarily difficult and expensive and can often be impossible. The letter from Newton also pointed out inadequate long-term oversight and enforcement as an issue, the cumulative risk. The failure of a few systems could result in the entire aquifer being contaminated. Permit lapses and no mechanism for accountability. They also point out that it seems to contradict our own subdivision moratorium, where we have issues and concerns with water. So again, those comments have been provided to you for your review. Again, only one of them since our November discussion was in favor of the ordinance amendment, but if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer, but that will conclude my report.
Any questions for staff before we move on? Okay. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion? A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Once again, we will open this item to discussion from the public. Restate that. We'll try to please try to keep comments less than 3 minutes. And if there's something that's already been said, we don't need to hear it again.
Good evening. My name is Roy Hall. I live in Lewiston, and my family drinks from the Lewiston City well located in the protection zone in consideration. I'm here to ask you to deny the text amendment that would allow a large septic or alternate on-site wastewater system inside Lewiston City's well drinking water protection zone. This isn't about religion. It's about whether we are going to keep our drinking water protection strong or we're going to poke a hole in them for just one project. Right now, the risk from this well being contaminated is particularly low, possibly even zero. There is no large constant sewage discharge sitting in that protected zone. Drinking water protection zones exist in Utah, in Cache County, for one reason. That's to keep risk uses away from the capture area, especially of municipal wells. If you change the code and approve this project, that changes. You're putting a permanent higher volume human waste system inside a mapped protected capture area of a public well, and by definition, you are turning the risk dial up, and it never turns back down. Once contaminants get into an aquifer, you don't just run your shop vac over it and hope that it goes away. It's like deciding to store your gasoline cans next to a wood stove and saying, don't worry, we're really responsible and we're really going to take precautions. And maybe nothing happens today in the present or in 100 days, but we're deliberately setting ourselves up for a bad day later. Imagine you approve this ordinance and the church builds the new building, installs the septic system in the protection zone, and everything goes into service. A year later, Lewiston tests the well. Nitrates have increased significantly from what was basically zero. Bear River Health Department gets called. They take it seriously. They put tracer dye into the septic system of the church. 100 days later, that exact dye shows up in the Lewiston well samples. At that point, there's no debate. You don't need a hydrologist to understand that what goes into the septic system is finding its way into our municipal well, and my family's been drinking it. The church is on the hook with regulators. Lewiston City is scrambling to protect its drinking water, and now they must pay for more monitoring and possibly treatment of their water. Everyone will be asking the same question. Why in the world did Cache County ever allow a high-volume septic system inside a protected drinking water zone in the first place? You don't need a crystal ball to see how that movie would end. The simplest way to avoid that mess is just keep the septic systems out of the well-protected zones right now, before dyes have to be put in, before tests have to be done. Utah's Drinking Water Source Protection Rule R309600 requires water systems and local governments to identify potential contamination sources and then to control or prohibit them in a wellhead protection zone. A large septic system in Zone 2 of a public well is a textbook example of a potential contamination source that we would allow. Utah's on-site wastewater rule, R317, says that site conditions may fail to protect water quality. On-site systems shall be prohibited, not shall be massaged into a we feel okay about it and shall be prohibited. Federal law points to in the same direction. The Safe Water Drinking Act created wellhead protection programs precisely so we don't put risky discharges where groundwater flows into public wells. The Clean Water Act says states and local governments are supposed to prevent, reduce, and eliminate pollution to protect the integrity of our water. You are that local government tasked with protecting it. Your own Cache County general plan admits that as septic use spreads, ground and surface water is harmed, and it tells you to protect groundwater, recharge, and source protection areas, and to expand centralized sewer where possible. Lewiston's own code already reflects that. Modern sewage isn't just germs and nitrates, it's pharmaceuticals, hormones, microplastics, things we don't fully understand, and we don't have great treatments for at the moment. Right now, the risk of that chemical cocktail reaching the well of Lewiston City is minimal. Authorizing a big new wastewater load in the protection zone is like opening the door and shouting, "Come on in, we'll deal with you later." And then there's precedent. There's a countywide code change, so it's not a one-off. It is a door that says the protected zones are protected in name only, and if this is what we call protected, I hate to see unprotected. I respectfully ask you to hold the line, follow the general plan of Cache County and the state and federal framework that are already in place to protect our waters. Thank you.
Jeff Hall, Mayor of Lewiston. So the Zone 2 protection was put in ballpark in the mid-90s. Since the mid-90s, the demand for water, municipal quality water, has increased drastically. And the protection should increase also, not decrease. I realize that 2.5 nitrates is a low number, but it's 2.5 times higher than 0. We ask for a 0 nitrates in that. Zone 2 is defined by 250 days of moving water. Yearly testing doesn't begin to take care of this because the water has already moved through there in a lot less than 365 days. This ordinance is not well thought out to be changed. We oppose this ordinance very strongly. There are over 20 compounds that Lewiston City has to check for, and yet in this proposed ordinance, they only have to test for nitrates. There's a new chemical compound that we have to start testing for this very month. Kind of ironic that anybody would entertain the idea of changing this during this month. We do not want any septic systems in Zone 2 anywhere. We ask for the protection that you've given us since the mid-90s and to increase that protection, not decrease that protection. So we would ask that you not make this change.
Simone Holyoke, Lewiston resident. I'm registering my formal opposition to the shift in the code. Reasons this should be the easiest denial you ever have to do in your time on the Planning Commission. One, there's nothing wrong with the code as it's written. Utah Drinking Water Zone 1 refers to the physical distance from the wellhead or spring collection. Zone 2 refers to the amount of time it takes for the groundwater to reach the wellhead or aquifer. I'm just going to repeat that. The time that it takes for the groundwater to reach the aquifer, right? So we know that it will do that. And I have social anxiety, so please bear with. These zones are designed to protect our water sources, and one of them should not be arbitrarily just stricken from the code under paragraph B because the contractor is finding himself inept in his ability to operate within the code as it is written. Although some respect can be given to Bear River Health Department and the Division of Water Quality's recommendations and input, they are ultimately not the people for whom this water is intended and are not in a position to determine for us what extent contaminated drinking water is safe. There are plenty of things that may be purported to be safe that are still requiring consent before subjugation to those things. This is one of those things. There's a paragraph where it discusses adequately controlled. This is our water. This is our drinking water. That's absurd for it to even have been listed that way. It's more than just the nitrates, it's pollutants, it's bacteria, it's virus, it's pharmaceuticals. This has already been said. I'm trying to skip over the stuff that's already been said. Regarding health risks, it's outrageous that this is even being considered. And more so that the check and balance proposed here is the local health department. Even agencies like the CDC, the FDA, and the APA quietly change websites to reflect new information as it comes up. A presumption that our little health department is even privy to all the information is ridiculous. I didn't have time to put together all that I wanted to. I have 7 peer-reviewed sources I will be sending to you over the next few days. I learned about this 2 days ago. This is not adequate notice for things that are this important. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Paul Swainston, I'm the water operator for this section that we're looking at. I'd like to thank the county for the years that they've protected us. They've protected the whole county with our source protection plans and with the ordinances that they've had on there. It's unfortunate to see this one area, this is one source that we're all talking about, but the changes that are proposed to be made to the ordinance for the county affects the whole county. Not only does my source protection plan be diminished, so does the rest of the counties for one plan. That's all I have.
Any other comments? Okay.
Make a motion to close the public hearing. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, folks, for working with us on this. We're getting through these public comments. Item number 5, public hearing for the combined 17.10.040 amendment. Request to amend the Cache County Code by increasing the permissible lot coverage from 50% to 70% in the commercial zone and to add an irrigation canal setback distance exemption. Angie.
Yeah, so this is a code change that we've talked about the last couple of planning commission meetings, so I won't go in depth. But yes, we did talk about increasing the lot coverage for commercial zones from 50% to 70. There was some discussion about going to 80 as it is in the industrial, but as we were directed from the last meeting, we have added that change to a 70% lot coverage. And then in addition to that, we have maintained the 16.5-foot setback from the top of an irrigation canal, but have added a 7th footnote into that table for site development standards that states an exemption to the setback may be allowed if the board or other entity governing the recognized irrigation canal agrees to the reduced setback and provides written approval. The written approval must then be turned in by the applicant to the Development Services Department at the time of the zoning clearance application. So we believe that those 2 items addressed your concerns and desired changes on the site development standards of Chapter 17.
Okay. Thanks, Angie. Any questions for staff? Okay. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion to open the public hearing.
We have a motion?
Second that.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Anybody like to comment on this proposal?
Hey, Brett, were you aware that the canal setbacks were being discussed right now?
Pardon me?
Were you aware that canal setbacks were being discussed right now?
Chris Chambers,
I speak in favor of doing this, and I recommend that we go to 80%. I applied for a rezone on a piece of property for some storage shed that come to the county. They told me to go with commercial. Then I find out that it affects my buildings and my asphalt and stuff. And so I was doing some figuring. If we go at 70%, I got 9 acres. At 70%, it's 6.3 acres. I can develop. And if I go to 80%, which is already industrial, which is the same thing, it's less than an acre, 7.2%. So I speak in favor of not only approving this, but going to 80%, the same as industrial. And that's most cities are that way. That's what their zoning is on between industrials is 80%. So I speak in favor of 70 and at least going to 80. So that's what I speak in favor of.
Thank you. Any other comments? No? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right. We have a motion. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. The next public hearing is the RU2 and RU5 amendment, a request to amend the Cache County Code 1708030 by adding restrictions on rezone applications for the Rural 2, RU2, and Rural 5, RU5 zones.
So this ordinance amendment came about as part of the subdivision moratorium and the joint workshops that County Council and Planning Commission held on October 30th and November 17th, where it was discussed establishing a distance-based restriction on rezone applications relative to municipal boundaries. The intent of this discussion was to formally codify the de facto practice that currently guides approval of rezones to be within or adjacent to a municipal boundary. So what is proposed would be just a change to the section of code that talks about the purpose of the RU2 and RU5. So for the RU2, the added language would be item number 4. For properties to submit a rezone request for the RU2 zone, the nearest property line of the parcel or parcels under consideration must be within 1/4 mile linear distance from the borders of a municipality. And now, however, an applicant may submit a rezone request when parcels are not within the required distance, only if the maximum number of lots that could be subdivided from the subject parcel or parcels is 3 or less. Similarly, for RU5, the language, the main change is that the RU5 must be within 1/2 mile linear distance from the borders of a municipality. Again, if it's not, then it could only be considered if the parcel that was to be divided would have a maximum potential of 3 or less lots. So those are the proposals, again, previously discussed with County Council and Planning Commission, and then drafted by the County Attorney's Office. But Development Services did review the language and made some minor changes.
Okay. Commissioners, any question for staff?
I had one maybe, Angie. So we talked about, and maybe it's in a different one that I forgot about, that for those larger subdivisions, they would still be allowed currently if they could hook to a existing system. Is that going to be in a secondary code amendment?
That was a separate ordinance that didn't get pushed forward, but it is our discussion item under item 10 tonight if we get that far.
Thanks. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. One last chance to be heard. Anybody have any comments on this proposal?
Tarina Lund. Obviously, I'm against this simply because it feels like the people that live closer to a town have more freedom and more rights than I would if I were living further away. And I just simply think that that would be unfair. And I would like to think that I can still do what I would like with my property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? we have a motion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. A motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We have covered our public hearings. Commissioners, do you have a desire on what order we should take? If we go back and take action, or should we?
Let's just go in sequence.
Go in sequence?
Start the first one.
All right, very good. We will move on to item number 7, Powder Mountain Master Plan, a request by Summit Mountain Holding Group LLC and SMHG Land Co. LLC to establish a master plan for the Powder Mountain Resort.
Yes, so we've discussed this many times, so I won't go in depth on the staff report, which is 10 pages. But we started this journey a year ago with the rezone request to get the remaining part of the Powder Mountain area into the RR zone, so we could create this master plan boundary. The master plan itself, per the applicant's description, there are no vehicular access to Powder Mountain from Cache County, and none proposed as part of this. Description of the proposed use would result in a year-round recreational resort community with residential units, condominiums and hotels, corporate retreats, commercial areas, resort support and maintenance facilities, skiing, hiking, biking trails, equestrian uses, an art interactive park and trails, and other related improvements. There would be both winter activities and non-winter activities. And then activities available in all seasons would include scenic lift rides, concerts and festivals, and race events. The ski resort is typically open from December to April, 9 to 4, with extended hours for special events. Night skiing takes place just in the Weber County side around the Sundown Ski Lift and base area. Resort operating activities can occur 24 hours a day during the ski season to prepare, maintain, manage, and operate the facilities. Non-winter operations are open to guests typically between 9 and 4, with longer or alternative hours for special events. The actual development of the property is focused on flatter areas of the site and are located to key recreation elements together, as well as locations that provide mountain views, recreation access, village feel or shelter, or a combination of these items. The architectural design of all the units will be governed by the Powder Haven Property Owners Association and CCNRs, which would result in a cohesive design aesthetic. Currently, there's nothing in county code that regulates design or materials for development, so this will be a higher level of review on the architectural design and elements of all of the development. Future proposed development in the master plan will be required to submit approval from that architectural review board or the equivalent prior to receiving approvals or permits from the county. So the whole boundary and development of the resort recreation zone is based on unit equivalent densities. So the RR zone allows for the following use types: hotel, commercial, or multifamily residential, single-family residential, mixed use, including like a corporate retreat, and then commercial uses. So there is a table in the RR zone in chapter 1714 of the county code that kind of provides ratios for each of these different types of uses based on the size, square footage, etc. So what the master plan for Powder Mountain is proposing is a total of 977.75 unit equivalents, with 711 of those being residential uses. That is broken down in the staff report. That would include 225 single-family lots, 65 cabins, 415 multifamily units, 6 corporate retreats, and then there'd be ski area facilities, rec facilities, and commercial units to meet that total build out for their master plan. We will establish a way to track those number of units over the development course of the project to ensure that we're not exceeding what is allowed in the master plan. And then chapter 1714 contains some provisions that are no longer allowed under state code. And although the adoption of this master plan establishes some parameters for development within the boundary, it doesn't provide us specific development standards by which to evaluate those, such as our 1710, about lot coverage and height and setbacks. We don't have any of that for the resort recreation zone at this point. So as part of the next steps after the master plan is adopted, we will be going through an ordinance amendment for 1714 with Powder Mountain to establish those development standards and create not only development standards for individual structures and the like, but also for infrastructure for like roads and stormwater. So that will come back through to you guys and then finally be approved by county council in order to establish those. And then approval process for different types of development plan applications, subdivisions, zoning clearances, and that. We'll also be working with the applicant moving forward to get those established, because the current Appendix A that is in 1714, one, it was lost for a while. Two, it doesn't really adequately reflect the whole process and is very basic in nature. So again, we'll be working with the applicant to establish that and get that approved, recommended for approval by the planning commission and finally county council. So there is additional things as part of the conditions that are also reflected in the staff report. We are still missing some final interlocal agreements between the Cache County and Weber County Sheriff and EMS, as well as the fire districts. But as we discussed in our previous meeting, we don't really feel like we can hold back Powder Mountain or their master plan adoption based on those interlocal agreements. So until the developer shall continue to coordinate with those entities to get those interlocals, but in the meantime, if those still aren't finalized or established prior to them submitting for development plan applications, we would allow for the Weber County Sheriff, or for the applicant to submit a letter from the Weber County Sheriff, basically a will serve letter stating that they will provide services to those new developments in lieu of the interlocal agreement being finalized. Similarly with UDOT, there's a threshold for the Weber County portion of this development that following the completion of 1,477 units in both Weber and Cache, that a new transportation impact study will be conducted. So that is a condition of approval. Again, we'll be tracking those and working with the Weber County side to make sure that we're always aware of that number moving forward. Condition 4 again talks about tracking the density. Condition 5 talks about there was some geotech in that submitted as part of the overall master plan submittal, but we'll be looking at site-specific geotech tests moving forward for each development. It will be all dark sky compliant. We'll include that language also with the development or the 1714 ordinance updates that we'll be doing. Again, 7 and 8, conditions 7 and 8 talk about we'll be making those ordinance changes moving forward prior to any zoning clearance applications or development plan applications coming through, so we can get those development standards and infrastructure standards established. And then, 9 just talks about upcoming changes. If they're considered de minimis or minor, the Director of Development Services could have authority to approve changes. But any major changes or expansion of the master plan would have to come back to the Planning Commission for approval. And then the final condition we have here is, the master plan submittal document packet was 1,100 pages. We don't want to record all of that against the property. So number 10 just kind of goes through the basic information that will be recorded as part of the master plan against the properties within the resort recreation master plan boundary. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the Powder Mountain Master Plan after the months that we've spent kind of going through it and making sure with our consultant JB that it was complete and met the requirements of the 1714 resort recreation code. So with that, if you have any questions for me, or Powder Mountain has prepared a small presentation as well if you'd like to see that.
Questions for staff before we hear from Powder Mountain? Okay. We've seen it a lot.
Thank you. Looks like you have a long night tonight, so I will tee up the presentation, but I'll probably just abbreviate it if that's okay with you, because it's been a long 14 months, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight, respectfully requesting the approval of the master plan CUP. We've had multiple meetings on this, as Angie mentioned. I think I counted 6 just related to the master plan CUP. Then there were some additional, whether they were work sessions or other sessions dealing with rezones. During that time, we had also an extensive third-party review of the application, and we didn't have a lot of public input throughout all of those meetings. And so it's great to arrive here tonight with a staff report that recommends approval. And I really appreciate and have to speak to the time and attention staff has given us over the past few months and this application on your behalf in order to do the work to come up with those conditions. So we have reviewed the conditions, and we feel like those really help move us forward, because what tonight does is not approve the project once and for all. It establishes the framework for which that you would see us in the future. So subdivisions are going to be held up to this master plan to ensure that we're in fact doing what we said we would do. So essentially, unfortunately, this is just the beginning from a perspective of the work that you do. So we appreciate that. We appreciate your consideration. If you don't mind, let's flip through just a couple of the slides. Visually, to get an idea of the exceptional job that Angie just covered, that is the area that the master plan covers. And so this all is contained in that full package. And you can see the amount of recreation that we're proposing versus the areas that are in tan where the actual vertical development will occur. We'll go to the next. We've covered that. We'll keep going. We covered this wonderfully. Oh, the last thing I actually would like to leave you with, there's about 7 more slides, but we'll end here. Using the assumptions that were done by third-party reviewer and who prepared the fiscal impact study, the overall impact to the county financially, using their assumptions, which are very conservative in terms of less value and less development and less percentage going to the county than we actually think will happen annually at stabilization, or when we get to build out. The county will receive about $5 million and $7 million every year from this project. In today's terms, that's about 7% of your budget for the entire county. So there is a financial benefit that is associated with all the various taxes that are collected from this project. And as Angie mentioned, there still is no access proposed or planned or envisioned from the Cache County side. So with that, I'd love any questions before I...
Any questions?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, commissioners. Any discussion on this? There's been a lot of discussion on this.
Yeah, I don't want the public to think that we're not thoughtful, but we've spent a year off on it, so I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
1,100 pages, the master plan. Okay.
I would make that motion.
Motion.
To send to the county council for approval.
Actually, the planning commission is the land use authority.
Oh, on this one doesn't go, yeah, that's right.
How many conditions were there?
Yeah, there are 10 conditions and 2 conclusions.
With the 10 conditions
and 2 conclusions. Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right.
Maybe Mr. Chairman, if I could suggest we go back to item 2 and work through those, just so folks don't have to sit here.
That was my original question was, was if we wanted to go that direction.
Let's do that.
I think that,
That works for you.
yeah, I think that would be good. So we will move back up to Dutson rezone is item number 2, and we will have our discussion and potential action on that one. All right, we've heard from the proponent. We've also heard from the public on this. Commissioners, any discussion on the Dutson rezone?
For me, it's similar to a number of others that have been like this, so away from town, and although he's only seeking 3 lots, it would give him the option to do 7 there. And pretty much unanimously, anything that large, we have recommended denial to the county council in the past when they're not.
Yeah, and with the caveat that I am from Newton, but, you know, this is asking for 7 lots. It's not asking for 3. So it's not a compatible use for the area. And listening to the public and the neighbors, sounds like there's not general support.
Any other discussion?
I'd make a motion that we recommend denial for the Dutson rezone to the county council with the 4 conclusions from the recommended denial.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to item number 3, public hearing for the Smithfield Safe Storage rezone. Discussion on this one.
I think that we made it clear a couple of months ago that it doesn't fit for the road and the problems that we have there, so I would say no.
A challenge that we have with either the last item or this item is you bust it loose and the floodgates will go. I don't think we have a option at this point to accept it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I think with the road issues that we faced on that other one that's close to this, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I would make a motion, pardon me, I would make a motion that we deny the request.
Just a point of order on that, recommend denial to the county council.
Yes.
Okay. And generally, we will give a reasoning for that or a conclusion. There's a conclusion.
Yes.
So just helping with that, based upon the county's assessment, we'd want to recommend to the county council denial of the Smithfield Safe Storage rezone based upon trying to find it here.
Yeah, from their way down at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Based upon 3 conclusions.
Commissioner Poole, you accept that amendment to your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion.
Can I further make amendment? There's just an error in the conclusion number 3. It references the wrong project, so
Sparks
it's
Ventures.
Smithfield Safe Storage rezone there.
Okay. Accept that amendment. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Angie, we good with that motion?
Yeah, I think.
So the vote yes means we reject.
To recommend denial?
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item number 4, the proposal for the water and sewage requirements ordinance amendment. Say that 3 times real fast. Discussion on this proposal. This amendment.
I would prefer, before we vote on this, to have another meeting with the state. Like, they came to our last one, our combined meeting, as did Bear River Health Department, to get more clarification and to maybe look at other options in the code. Because I think currently, because I know this is requested from one project, but I know of at least two others that have had similar requests. But to even put the septic system outside of that zone by running a pipe through Zone 2, have been told by the county that that's considered a system, part of this. So they still couldn't do that. So I think maybe look at some other options before we were to vote on something like this. Because it does impact, like the one gentleman said, right? It's not this protection area, right? There's maybe not hundreds, but for sure dozens around the county that this could affect. And I think looking at the size of some of those, the properties in them, and if there is a way to safely let, someone do something on that property, and maybe it's a dual pipeline, maybe there's other options out there to get outside of those zones, maybe worth looking at before we vote.
Yeah, I think since our last discussion, we've got a lot more information that we didn't have, that this is a huge impact and way too rapid. There may be a way to put some flexibility in the code for a few situations, like the letter from Nibley stated, that they would like to be able, if it affects their source protection area, to have a voice in it. And maybe we can build some of that in, so if that entity, for whatever reason, feels like they want to allow it, that they have that flexibility. But I think for us to adopt this at this point would be a mistake.
We do have that in here, so the number 4 is.
Yeah,
the city.
they changed the wording just a
Yeah,
little bit.
the city that owns that well or whatever it is would still have to sign off on that system before it could ever go in that area. And I don't know if that was put in because of Nibley's request, but that.
I think that was actually put in, based on Bear River Health, and then Nibley requested that, they said, we also suggest adding to the end of that line, something to the effect of, quote, according to the owner's codes, rules, and regulations, so.
So it would still give the city that owns, or that has that source protection area the final say.
Mr. Chairman, I would definitely be in favor of putting a little more thought into it and research. One thing that we didn't really discuss tonight is we discussed one example of where a protection zone exists and people are wanting to build around it. But in a scenario, Lewiston City put another storage tank in, which I'm grateful they did, and it's phenomenal planning, but it has direct effect on my immediate family. We're right on the fence line, and that restricts us forever for what we can do with our property. Yeah. But if we had an option that safely meets both the needs, I don't want personal in this, but it's an example of where, and in the future, we're already discussing requiring some of these larger subdivisions to have their own water container, their water facilities. This could backfire on that directly, depending upon the location of their septics or sewers. So I don't think it's something we want to jump right into, but jump right out of. It needs further study.
Okay, other comments on that? I had similar concerns on this. I think there were some really compelling arguments that we heard, and there were arguments really going two different directions on the technology, and I felt inadequate to make a good decision on that without some additional information regarding the technology, because we've heard from one side that this technology is great, takes the nitrates out, and we've also heard that it doesn't, and so I felt inadequate to make a decision on that without some more information.
If we put a 6 months out on this, is that even enough time to
we all right to do a 6 month or 90 days? Is 90 days or?
I think 6.
We could do a 90.
Normally
we can do a 90 and
we
add
can
another
solve
90.
90, but at the end of the 90, if we haven't, we can just extend it.
We'll have multiple meetings with this and the other water issues and the subdivision issues over
We,
the
we
next
in
6
no
months.
way, in no way want to jeopardize anybody's water.
Absolutely.
But if it can,
Sure.
go ahead.
I was just gonna add to that, that it would be nice to hear, again, from like the proponent or the applicants for these, like, help us understand better what the technology is that is being proposed and what the risk is.
Because looking forward, this will be more and more common as, until we have sewer systems throughout the county. We're gonna be getting closer together and, on all of these things, and so this will be a common question. It'll impact more and more potential development, so.
Well, I appreciated some of the letters from the communities and their comments, because you know, these are small communities. They don't have the resources to go out and get experts and to, you know, what's the long term going to be? We open this up. We we don't want to be a Flint, Michigan, and have you know, a lifetime contamination of a water because of a mistake we made. And so it's a pretty big change. I would be in favor of pushing it out as far as we can so we have time.
We gotta be known for sure.
Yeah, but tonight, we would.
Well, we had another area right here in the valley of arsenic in their water that was feeding 50 homes. And, then we got at least one thing that Lewiston's been dang smart with, and even when they put their last well in, they have room, but there's communities along the west side, specifically Trenton and Cornish, that have no other resources than what they have. That's all they have, and it's inadequate as it is. So extra protection on.
Yeah, just thinking ahead, you know, we've had a number of public water systems come through looking for approval. Maybe that's something that we look as conditions on those when we approve those. You're gonna impact the area around there by putting this in place. If it's feasible, you need to hook them up to sewer. Just a thought. So, okay. Sounds like we have a fairly clear consensus here. Do we have
I'd make a motion to continue this for up to 90 days.
Okay.
With the option to push it out further if necessary.
Is there public comment on this, or that?
We've already had it.
Already happened earlier?
Yes. Yep. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Hey, question. If Brady's question get answered, can that be pushed out more than 6?
We need to have council look at that.
I still need to look into that. I know that it is allowed in about 90 days. It might be further, I have.
Okay, I just didn't hear it.
But my understanding in requesting that, even if at the end of 90, we wouldn't push it 90 if that wasn't adequately resolved. That would just allow another extension past that. Does that?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 5. This is the combined 17.10.040 amendment, and this was we'll allow people to
Clear out for a minute.
make their way out of here for a second. Okay, this, the combined 17.10.040 amendment, and this was increasing the permissible lot coverage from 50% to 70% in the commercial zone, and to add an irrigation canal setback distance exemption. Discussion on that, commissioners?
So the only concern that I had was we didn't specifically, we had a couple of canal presidents here, and we didn't specifically identify nothing with the canal. But at the same time, if I understand correctly, pending that our deal meets it, it's it's optionable, but it's still up to the canal company, is that correct?
It's still not allowed unless they can get a letter
Yeah,
from the
so,
canal.
so I'm
company.
okay with that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to re-clarify.
And that means 16 feet from the center of the canal both ways.
Top of bank is what it states in the
Top of
code.
bank to top of, or from side to side would be well over, almost over.
So if your canal was 10 feet wide, yeah, it'd be 33 feet plus that 10.
But there on page 2, it specifically says from the top of a recognized canal bank to any structure, it's 16 and a half feet in any zone.
Yep.
So,
And then
I
with the-
feel that it's just nice that people have a flexibility if the canal company's in agreement
Yeah,
to allow that.
Because even there, most canal companies don't use both sides for their maintenance, and so
Yeah.
I think some people will be able to get that exemption letter.
Yes.
I don't see it in here, but how would the canal companies be contacted? How would that happen?
In order to get the exemption,
Uh-huh.
it would be on the applicant, they would have to approach. So whoever
So,
wants to
okay.
build within that setback would have to approach.
So when the applicant, they would have to they would approach the canal company and bring it, okay.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few canal companies, and they're, with that, they still hold the cards, and so everyone I've talked to has been comfortable with that, knowing that no building is allowed without them
Yeah.
essentially signing off on it.
But it gives us some leeway.
Yeah, because right now it's just not allowed, and so if you get a landowner that wants to do something, there's no wiggle room for them. This gives them a chance to.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. With that said, I would,
Hang on
unless
one
somebody else,
second.
go ahead.
Remind me, going back, during the public comment, why did we, put that at 70% lot coverage versus 80? What was the discussion?
More of the commission liked the lower number. I liked the higher number. We'd also talked about bringing the industrial down and this up and having both 75. There were a lot of different numbers discussed last month.
Right.
And yeah, I still like the idea of having them the same, so it's easier for someone doing a project, similar to the gentleman that spoke, right? He got going in there was, kind of steered to go to commercial and then only had that 50% and realized he
Yeah.
can still do the project, but he has to leave, if he wants that coverage, all his parking lots would be gravel potentially, or more open space. Where in industrial, it could all be asphalt. And into Brady's, right, you were saying one way or the other if we didn't count asphalt, but with Matt, pretty much anything impermeable was counted as lot coverage. And so, yeah, I like the 80% because of that. It just makes it cleaner.
It makes it, I agree. Can
Well,
we, Mr. Chairman, can we make that change tonight?
I don't know that it makes it cleaner, right? For me, it just makes it the same as industrial, so like, what's the difference between commercial and industrial? Like, there should be some differences there, and I think this is one, land coverage could be one of those important differences.
The benefit is they're going from 50 to 70, but some of the concerns that I had before with the 80 was, well, I was different than Matt, but I was almost fine if we went to 80 if it was only because of parking, not actual structures, but it was just kind of a meet in the middle of everybody coming to, we were at 50, now we're at 70, which is still, and maybe it could still be.
Yeah.
But I still tend to side Chris too a little bit.
I guess, Chris, what do you see the advantage of having, I guess, the 10% more undeveloped or stormwater ponds? I mean, that's a lot of that area is what's used for that, which even with 20% and pretty much, well, even 10%, pretty much any facility, you can meet your stormwater requirements with that percentages. And I just see it, similar to the complaints against, 2-lot subdivisions, right? A lot of people say, well, people don't take care of the other acre and a half and it ends up weeds and stuff. To me, the more you have developed or asphalt, whatever it is, the cleaner that place looks in the end.
Well, the other debate of it, that for the bringing it down, and we'd even kind of mentioned bringing industrial down, is we might be better off to, or if it's even possible, if we go with the 70, with the option of a CUP to assess it greater. I mean, if if it's got access, if it has adequate space, but we've had a couple where, well, and they were industrial and they just don't have enough space. 80's way too much for the trucks that they're trying to get into the confined space and the original location of where it sits. So that might be something else if we set a 70 or if you guys want 80, but have some option there. We'd be better off to be conservative and have the option to assess it and say, well, maybe this one could allow for more without getting ourselves in trouble. But if we set it higher, we're never gonna be able to come back down.
I don't know, can we do that, Angie? Or I guess maybe legal? Can we have it set at 70 but have a variance in certain cases to go over that? Or could we go higher and yeah, I guess we could add a line to the code to allow for that. Cause yeah, I'd be in favor of that too. If there's certain projects that allowed for that,
That's back to a little bit of flexibility.
yeah, then you have that. So it would be a line essentially added in there.
Chris, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I just back to Nathan's question, it's just, it's an intensity of use
Yeah.
for me and how it appears and I can certainly understand your arguments, but I think for me, commercial should be, a step down or lightly less intense use than industrial, and this is like an easy way or obvious way to maybe make that difference, because we are allowing the use on smaller parcels, but yeah, that's why I'm advocating for the 70.
I tend to agree the fact that if we end up in all asphalt, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be Third West in Salt Lake. And you drive down Third West from 8th South all the way down to 21st South, and it's solid concrete, buildings, no trees, no grass, no nothing. And I hate to see that. So I tend to lean towards the lesser percentage, and if they have a good argument to come in and get more, we'll listen, but we should give them that right to come in.
Look at each case individually.
If I may say, if you're putting that line in the code that gives you the alternative to go from 70 to 80, I think there needs to be clear reasons or definitions that are outlined in that rather than subjective. Does that make sense?
What are some thoughts there for what they would be?
That's a good question, and I don't know that right off. I'm just concerned about, hey, I've got the ability, so I'm here doing it. Give me the reasons why you would deny it, and yet you put it in there for me to come and question you about it.
What about the conversation, we talked about the paved surface versus the gravel surface, and
much of that was talking about for water to go through and versus those two, wasn't it?
yeah, but remember, I want the water to run off and go to Great Salt Lake. Yeah.
Well, some of it could be like Brady's concerns, right? If it's a commercial project, it's gonna have a lot of large truck traffic. Maybe they need that smaller number because they need that extra room to allow for some of those turns and some of that stuff. So I can see some things where you could maybe get some lines to justify the higher or the lower in certain cases.
Well, another thing too that we haven't really clarified in this, and I know that, I don't know if it's every zone, I do remember discussing, when you apply for, just because we're discussing commercial, but to do storage units, you've gotta be warehouse. Storage units is commercial, so how do we look at, just storage units or storage units with parking? So, for instance, Brandon Spackman's in Richmond. He has structures, but he's also got a large area for parking, campers, whatever else.
His industrial or commercial? Industrial would allow for that. Commercial, you can't have outdoor parking. It's gotta be
Maybe he's still in
covered.
city limits, I might be wrong. But that was just a question.
That would be the difference, yeah, is industrial, you could have that. Commercial, you can't have outdoor parking.
Okay, so that wouldn't be a
Yeah,
problem.
in my case, when we first did it, when I came in and then it was meeting with, is it Chris, probably?
real, yeah.
I think he was there, Right, he said, well, as long as you do gravel driveways, that doesn't count against your density. So we could get the number of buildings we wanted on there. And we could do like half of the asphalt. Which to me, in a commercial, if you're going down there, that looks worse than all asphalt. And to Matt's point, it changes the stormwater runoff like 3%, right? Our stormwater is still the same size. And so a cleaner looking place as you're driving by, to me, made more sense to have that and not have the bigger area. Because, in the county, you have 30-foot setbacks on all four sides, where in a lot of cities, there's maybe a 5-foot setback to the back property line or different things. So you have that 30-foot setback where you can do all your stormwater a lot of the times in that setback and meet that 20% in those areas. And then your out front is landscaped to look good as you go by. But again, different ones are different.
Brandon's in the city, so I don't.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yep.
I'll just give them.
go ahead.
I was just
No,
gonna
you
say,
haven't- you haven't chimed in yet,
I'll
so
give
please do.
my thought on it. I look at going from 50 to 70%. That's a pretty massive increase, and my tendency is I would recommend going with that, and we'll see where we go from that. And if there's a massive desire for looking at that again, I think that's good. But when you look at going from 50 to 70%, we're given a lot in that change. And so, in an abundance of caution, I would prefer to kind of stay at that, going to 70.
But I was just gonna say the same thing, so.
And so with that, there wouldn't be an option. That's what you'd suggest with what Nolan said?
Just
Not
looking
being
at
an
that,
option?
I mean, you look at the percentage increase that we're doing on that.
I'm-
That's pretty massive.
But
So
I just
that's-
wanted to clarify that
yeah.
for the record, that we
That
wouldn't-
being
we wouldn't
said,
look at a
if
variance.
the commission feels strongly that there should be that option, I wouldn't vote against it because of that.
I think we got some more education coming our way, so.
Matt Phillips, Public Works Director. I just had a question, because if we go back to when Nate came in, the county counted his gravel as non-lot coverage. And I think, so if we're gonna change this, I wonder, have we looked at that? Because I think if you just went out there and put your whole lot with gravel, I think we might all assume that that was lot coverage. Because I think part of what Chris talks about is maybe in the county, we're still trying to keep a little bit of ruralness, a little bit of open space, trying to make those transitions from farmland to commercial a little bit softer. But I don't think gravel itself, I think gravel should be counted as coverage, similar to asphalt. So in Nate's case, I would rather have Nate have asphalt. It's cleaner, less dusty, the runoff's less polluted and all those things. But because of the way the code was written, it allowed him to do gravel, and then it didn't count as coverage. So I'm not sure. I was a little surprised. I was newer at the county then, and I was a little bit surprised when that was the interpretation. But so I didn't know, Angie, if that was written in there or if that was an interpretation. But I think as we look at these industrial and commercial ones, some kind of hard surface like gravel, to me, that's the same thing. That's not green space, that's not grass, that's not trees. That should count as lot coverage or an impervious surface, so.
Yeah, so that comes from our definition of lot/parcel coverage. The percentage of the area of a lot or parcel which is occupied by all buildings, other impervious surfaces, or other covered structures.
And so there's a
So that
definition of
covers gravel.
impervious surfaces. Does that?
What you determined is
Whether
impervious.
compacted gravel is impervious or not is the interpretation.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was, deemed not. I'd have maybe one other thing to add is, I think as Connor brought some other counties and their densities to us, I don't know if it's last month or 2 months ago, but I think it makes more sense for us, right? There's a lot of these that we're approving. Chris's is a good example. This other one just south of Smithfield that probably will not get approved, but right, they're close to those cities and are gonna be absorbed by those cities fairly soon. I think it makes more sense to be closer to the city, not all the way to theirs, because most of the cities are 90% density. Whereas those get absorbed and you're driving down that road, it looks like a commercial or industrial area to me. It makes more sense than you drive through there and you got 90% coverage and then we go to 30. I just think it can look cleaner as a development. I mean, in the county, we don't see very many of them, right? Now, I think that was part of your point. This is a big jump from what we've done. We've only had a couple commercial rezones every year that go through, and so they're pretty small operations, but as they get absorbed, I think it makes more sense that they look like the communities that are absorbing them. So that would be my other push for the 80, just so it's more similar to what eventually it's going to become part of.
Is there any other discussion?
Other discussion?
I'm ready for a motion if you want one.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we propose to the county council acceptance of the changes to 17.10.040, specifically increasing the total lot coverage in the commercial zone from, I just lost it.
50 to 70%.
50 to 70, and then allowing, I don't have it, but I can surprise a synopsis or whatever, allowing the canal companies,
Add an exemption allowing for the placement of structures inside of the 16.5 canal setback.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Or the note 7.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Good discussion on that one. We worked that one out plenty. Okay.
Made it better at least.
Yeah. All right, next one, item 6, RU2, RU5 ordinance amendment. Discussion on this one. We beat this one around with the county council a couple of times, and
I think that one looks really good of what we talked about at the county council, and left those exemptions in there for those smaller.
Mr. Chairman, I know the applicant walked back in, and no offense to him, but the thing that I find very interesting in two of our last half a dozen of these requests, including one in Mount Sterling, these people owned these parcels less than 6 months. People have farmed them their lifetimes, struggled to make it, and I know it's not a good comparison, but it's unbelievable how. And I know there was other interest in that parcel that was discussed tonight, and I'm not right sure if it was the individual or whoever was given the advice, but there was differences in being told that they left thinking that it couldn't even be done. So I'm just really glad we did what we did, but at the same time, it's something that's way important that we really take for serious as we evaluate these. What do we want our county? I mean, no disrespect to George Daines, I'm very appreciative of all he's doing and stands to do, but his personal opinion, it was kind of interesting. He says, we don't want no development, in our last meeting. But we've got to have some, but we just got to do it smart, because whether it's, I don't know, this or that, I mean, you break the floodgates here and it's just gonna boom. And how do we give one and stop another without having some distances and such?
I do feel like, these proposed changes are more in line with the decisions we've been making for quite a while now.
It just gives us something to stand up on.
Yeah, I think this puts in words sort of what we've been doing.
the spirit of
approvals versus denials on these rezones. I think this, it works really well.
Yeah, because
it should work better.
This is what our county master plan kind of mentions, but the master plan's not code, right? It's a recommendation to us to follow. And now, yeah, I agree. This gives us something to follow that we've pretty much been doing anyways.
But it gives us code to back it up. And
some of those will never then come to us because they're not eligible.
Yeah, which I think is, and some would argue and say, well, you're taking away my ability to do that with my property, but in a lot of ways, it just lets you know, these are what the standards are. And if you want to have a higher density development, get closer to the cities.
Right.
So-
Or buy a bigger parcel.
Or buy
I
a bigger,
guess, I
a
don't
bigger
know.
parcel. Yeah. Okay, any other discussion on this one? I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to recommend approval of ordinance amendment 17.08.030 for the RU2 and RU5 zone definitions.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Let's see.
I think we're up to item 8, Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken.
Cruising now.
Item 8, Saddle Ridge subdivision, a request to create a new 22-lot subdivision on 221.72 acres located at 7,000 South, 1400 West Hiram in the agricultural A10 zone. This has been continued from the 4th of September 2025 meeting.
And they are requesting
Another night.
an additional extension, is that right?
That is correct, yeah. I think when we put the agenda together, we weren't quite sure. It just had come up on its previous 90 days. And then after the agenda was posted, it was requested it be continued again. The applicant provided some reasoning on the second page there, that they're working with the executive's office on some alternate access, which was the primary concern of the project to date. But they're still working through some things in order to be able to present that again. So they are asking for an additional 90 days. I did put a caveat in here that, again, I haven't been part of the discussions, so I'm not sure if they're, minimal changes that might be expected or if it'll be substantial. But in the case of any substantial or significant changes, a new application may be required, just depending on what that looks like.
Plus, isn't there if I'm not mistaken, there's kind of a limit to how long we can extend.
I was just gonna ask that,
I
we just didn't have
before-
90 days on their last one, right?
Yeah.
I think it's been continued maybe a couple times on 90 days. The original, staff had recommended denial because they weren't meeting the minimum requirements, so I think that's in here. The April 3rd meeting was the original date, and that was continued on that date for 90 days, and then at the July meeting, it was again extended, and then they came back with a modified plan with that 22nd lot instead of the 21st, and then that was presented in September and again continued for 90 days, so that's where we are today.
We probably do need a refresher on how long we can extend agenda items or whatever. I
sure.
feel like there's a limit, but maybe it's only on certain application types or something.
Well, our CUP definitely has a limit of 1 year. If they haven't done anything, it's
Then they
gone.
can get,
No,
a-
we
they
can
can get an
extend it.
extension
We
of
can
6 months on
extend.
that.
Yeah.
6 months, but then it ends.
Then it ends.
And I
Yeah,
guess
they
But
the-
don't they have to actively be working on
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning, is if there's,
And those ones have an actual approval with conditions,
Yes.
whereas this has never gone.
yeah.
And I guess the point on this one is the extension is requested by the applicant.
Yeah.
And,
Because I think under some of the new state code,
yeah,
it only comes once. We only get one go around if we don't think, but if the applicant's extending a request, but it'd still be good to look and so we know for sure, because those laws do continue to change and confuse us.
If we change some things as far as development that we've talked about, do these folks have to meet that requirement?
It's
Not unless they have to
application.
reapply.
it's when they applied.
If they have to reapply, then they have to abide by.
So they're taking,
this-
maybe taking that danger.
Yeah, and this wasn't a rezone, if I'm remembering
No, it's
not.
correctly. It's,
They have,
22 lot subdivision.
yeah,
yeah. on
but they have plenty
A10.
of acreage for, so.
Yeah, the applicant is here. If you'd like to hear from them.
I think we're ready to take action.
Yeah, I think we can just,
extend
okay.
Good.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to extend the Saddle Ridge subdivision request, for up to an additional 90 days.
Can I add a caveat in there?
I also,
Legal comes back to us in our next meeting. If we've extended this too many times, we address it at that time.
that was my,
Could we do that? Just so we're safe following
I
it.
think if it is, I think as soon as we know that, we should let the applicant
Applicant
know,
know
so
that.
if they really only have to the next meeting, they can get stuff ready. Yeah, so yeah, I'm fine with that amendment to it.
Okay.
that was mine.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a second on with the amended motion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are cooking with gas tonight.
Almost getting time for elections.
All right. Item number 9, amending Cache County Code 17.07.040 and 17.10.040 frontage. Is that, did we do it? Frontage and access?
Yeah, we've just discussed it a couple times.
Okay.
This is a little more discussion.
One thing that we got right now, you brought it to our attention, but I feel this is extremely important in any zone, because specifically, we approved a subdivision, or a rezone for a house to be built. And now after they've got the house up and everything, they're trying to renegotiate their driveway. That shouldn't even be an option. If you want occupancy, you do it the way you proposed it and the way we approved it. Otherwise, sorry.
I think that's part of what this is to clean up, isn't it, Angie?
And so, can we put teeth in that one?
Yeah, so I'll bring up my favorite example, and the reason that, part of the reason that we're here.
Well, she's bringing it up. I would just say that sometimes, you know, there may need to be modifications, you know. You find a wetland or something, hey, we proposed that it's here, but as it turns out, we can't build a road there because of water or whatever we found.
Wasn't the problem, though, it wasn't to make it beautiful or look nice, it was to allow emergency vehicles to get in the place and turn and things to happen that way more than it was anything else. And I remember this case.
Yeah, so, this particular lot that we have up here, you can see kind of the flag lot shape, coming off of 3800 West here. So the subdivision amendment plat that they showed, this was their 90 feet of frontage that they needed. It also requires that frontage be set back to the front yard setback 30 feet, which is how we get this shape. But they wanted to build clear back here, and so that's why they have the shape of a lot, and it was approved. But later, when they were coming in for their zoning clearance to build the home, the person who farms this area did not want them to put a driveway through the middle of it. And so they were looking for alternative accesses and now want to come up through the farm in order to get to their house. That created a lot of confusion, one, because, you know, fire evaluated the access during the subdivision process. The address that's on the subdivision plat is an address that comes off 3800 West, not 3800 North. So it just creates a lot of issues. Fire, engineering, all had to go out multiple times to see if the width and all of this met the requirements to get to the house. So we just felt that it should be clarified that wherever your actual frontage is that you're required to have per development standards and the subdivision process, that should be your access default. And if you want a separate or a different one, then you
Apply that way.
A variance process, yeah. And that would be the code ordinance that we have proposed would be that would be a Director of Development Services variance, which they also have the authority to do for setbacks and building height. So it seemed like a natural addition there. And then the director would work with fire and public works in evaluating their decision on whether to grant that variance or not. But the default should be whatever your required frontage is, should be your access as well.
Jason, is that public water?
Yes.
So the interesting thing is they've already dug their utilities in along that exact.
Along that.
Yeah, I stopped and looked at it.
Yeah. The trenches are there.
Yeah, they buried it now.
They just wanna farm over not having.
Well,
driveway.
I stopped on the road and was just looking at it. It looks like the reason is because, looks like he floods that.
Yep, from
and
the
it comes
north.
from the north
He does.
down, and so I don't know how he'd water that south part.
Yeah.
Is that true,
You
Jason?
just bury that canal under the driveway.
Just put a few culverts.
There is a ditch there,
Jason,
so,
is
yeah.
that correct?
Yeah, it is. It floods from the
Is
north.
that
I
how they
think
water?
so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it floods from the north to the southeast.
A lot of afterthoughts there.
But the other problem that we have in the county is everything's fine and dandy while they're all related
Yeah.
and alive, but the minute they die or somebody wants their piece of the pie, it leaves the person in that house now trying to find,
That's why
how do
this-
I get in and out?
I think that's why this lot started, isn't it? From the oldest generation passing on.
And in reality, I mean, you look at, I don't see how they can get the frontage through the farmyard anyway, because they don't own that property, so, yeah. Yep.
They just move it all north.
And
Along the fence line to the north and call it good.
that said, any action we take tonight doesn't impact.
Yeah, and this
This
again
is
is
just-
a discussion, we would
just
bring
a
it back to
discussion,
public
yeah.
hearing next month if we were good with the direction that we've taken here.
I feel like, yeah, I'm supportive of what we have here.
Angie, do you need a motion on this one? No?
It was just discussion.
Okay. All right, moving on. Item number 10, subdivisions.
Yeah, so this was part of the discussion in the workshops with county council and planning commission as well. Again, the county attorney's office did draft some language about subdivision requirements, limiting them to 7 unless they are able to, one, if they're within an annexation area and can connect to municipal services or at least sewage. Again, during last workshop, there wasn't a clear direction like there was with the RU2, RU5 stuff, so we just thought we'd bring it back to see if you've had any additional thoughts since that workshop. So that's why that's here.
Okay, and I think the only one I would add on that, on the water one, right, the proof of water by drilling a pilot well would only come into play if it's gonna be a community water system that we may require on some of these bigger subdivisions. Cause it's kinda hard to do a proof of water right for a single lot on every lot, even if it were, 5 lots or 7 lots on a 70-acre parcel.
So then we'd be able to change that by putting the number of lots, 7 or above, or
Well,
8 or above.
even if it's above 7, I think it would really depend on where we end up with when we're gonna require a public water system in that discussion. If it's gonna be a public water system that multiple homes are relying on, I think that drilling that test well makes sense. If it's just for a single home water system, right, because just cause if you got a 100-acre parcel and it's 10 lots that they can have right now, but they're spread out, it may not make sense for a public water system. And if you do your test well on the first lot, there's no guarantee that 10th lot is gonna be able to hit water. And so I think, doing 10 test wells probably doesn't make sense in that, but if it's gonna be relied on for a community water system, in my mind, and then talking with Box Elder County Water District, that's when, if it's a community water system well, it makes sense to have that requirement there, because you don't wanna say, we're gonna supply 10 or 15, whatever those homes are, and you don't know if you have any water or not.
So then it seems to me we need to figure out a way to decide when is a community water
Yeah,
necessitated.
I think that's why we figured we're gonna need multiple combined meetings
Right,
to
because
get through
we've
those
said
discussions.
in the previous discussions, anything above 7, we would look at that, because then we can start talking about hopefully having an understanding of septic tanks and what we're doing from that as well.
Yeah, yep.
So maybe we need a size of lot and a size of ground that's going with it.
Well, I think, yeah, for me personally, it's more when we get those bigger subdivisions that are clustering, and so the lot sizes are small, the wells are close together, the septic systems are close together, right? If they're all 10-acre lots, I think at least with the Bear River Health Department, right, the risk of the septic systems really is pretty minimal. But if we do this, the one there in the basin, right, in Mount Sterling, the risk there is high. because they're small lots, everyone's gonna be on a well, and so I think that's the discussion, right? What is that, density to where that system would be required? And I think it comes down to lot size and
That's where
how
I'm
far-
headed.
how much we're
because
spread out.
The second subdivision was 205 acres when we gave them a 20 lot.
Yeah.
But some of those lots are gonna be way less. I mean, there's one lot's 2 acres, isn't it?
I was gonna say
Yeah, I think-
2 to 5 acres, which, you know, in a way, we like folks
those
to
down.
cluster when it makes sense, but I think that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Like, when they start doing that.
When they
what
cluster
does
too
it
much, or
trigger the need for
Yeah,
more of community.
and I think that's where it's gonna take
services.
multiple discussions to decide on where is that level?
Because I agree with you, 10-acre lot, it's too far, it's too much, and 10 acres, if you've got adequate distance,
Yeah.
I would believe.
And you
But-
can put your well along.
But even that, in the A10, we've got people who are doing subdivisions and then bringing the lot down to a lesser amount with
Yeah.
the remaining farm.
Yep.
So they've still met it, but yet they've squeezed out a different way of sizing the lot.
Yeah.
But I don't- I don't
That's
get
why I think we did the RU2, RU5 one now, cause that was easy.
Yeah, we-
This next one's gonna be difficult to,
Well,
it's
I'm
gonna
not
take a lot of
looking at it
writing.
because we need
Yeah,
to, because
yeah.
of the scope and size of some of these subdivisions, especially when they're put them together.
Yep.
So tight.
So with this said, pending the action that we take, if we all agree on, let's keep it at 7 lots or less on the larger subdivisions for now. Does that take care of it, or do we need to extend out? So the 6-month moratorium, I think, takes us through February.
I think it's
January.
January.
Mid to late January.
Is it January?
It was put in effect July 8th.
So
we're
January
getting
8th.
close.
So if we have the public hearing in January on this, then this could be in place.
Yeah.
When that,
That-
if the
what I was
county
wondering
council
is if
moves
we need
quick
to
enough.
Extend
I
that.
think there would
for another-
probably be a window of time where the moratorium would have ended and this would not be in effect yet, but, yeah.
Do you think this will be adequate without extending the moratorium, 90 days?
I think, like I said, I think there'll be a gap between, because you have to have the public hearing with a recommendation, you gotta
Oh, you
set a
can't?
hearing, you
Okay.
gotta hold a hearing. and
Because we
then
gotta
it
have a
doesn't
public
become
hearing
effective
on this.
until-
Yeah, that'd be our January meeting to have the public hearing on this, I think.
Yeah, if you just wanted something simple for that January meeting, just cap it at 7 for now, we can draft that up.
Well, I think if they can find a way to hook to a community system, then, over 7 would be fine still, at least for me. And if they can hook onto a community sewer or water system, that takes away all our concerns for the most part.
But
And then they're right there where they're gonna get,
Aside from maybe Benson, are we aware of any community right now that's willing to do that?
well, yeah, they may not be willing, but they've got an option.
Water, we've got, take Petersboro up there. I mean, they have a water system there. It's private,
And they're,
but it's
asking for help, right?
it is a public water system and meeting state standards.
But if any, well, Cove could, if they had shares, Cove could let them hook on.
Yeah. So I think
'Cause
there
they're
are
already in
a
the
few
county.
examples.
But I think the water's there, the sewer is the.
The hard
Yeah,
part.
there's no sewer in Cove, no sewer in Benson.
That's why they're looking at systems that keep it out of their water.
Systems, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, commissioners, do we need to make amendments to this, or?
Yeah, we're septic, yeah, sorry.
Just a discussion item.
No, we don't have.
No, but are there any amendments you'd like to send on to staff and?
Bring this forward for a public hearing in January, I just wanna be clear about what it is.
Or if you think some between now and then, get it to them, 2 weeks before your meeting? So you've got time to post them?
I just reiterate the lot size on the actual, like you've already brought up, I really think, because it's concerning to me, even though we've been through different meetings and they say it varies, it's concerning to me when our code says they can build on a half-acre lot, but the health department in their first meeting says 1 3/4 acres is how they design their septics. So.
They
if the
did
dirt's-
kind of back away from that, but.
Well, they only backed away from however the dirt is, or what your dirt is, but that still needs to be looked at. Our 1/2 acre doesn't say if it's not conducive.
But we do say, but we do have, they need to get approval from the Bearville Health Department,
okay.
so.
Yeah, that's.
So that part's in there already.
But we have to. Yeah, I think, yeah, it'd be good to look at it next month and have a hearing and get through the process.
that enough for you, Angie?
Angie, did you get anything that was forwarded from Andrew Crane?
I just have the ordinance that he proposed in that last joint workshop.
Because he sent me an email and I thought he had sent it to you.
Oh, he copied me on an email to you about the moratorium and extending it.
But he'd also, on this subdivision sent out there, put out a piece.
Bring that up.
If you did, yes, maybe send it out to all of us so we can comment on it before next month.
He did send, you forward it to these guys and everybody? It's a starting point is all it is
Yeah,
from
that'd be
the
good.
attorney's office, so.
Okay, moving on. Item 11,
Elections.
elections for chair and vice chair for 2026.
And I will just add here that,
Oh, and also-
Val J, Brady, and Kurt were reappointed for another 3 years. On Tuesday during council.
Congratulations.
Well, and that certainly
It's like the
means
Hotel
you'll be around to be
California.
chair.
What did I miss?
Oh, I was just saying that Val J, Brady, and Kurt were reappointed on Tuesday, during Tuesday night's council meeting for another 3-year term, so.
Yes, we did that, so.
So we know they'll be here, so they can be chair and vice chair. And, oh, and also on this, I guess, secretary is also part of that, correct?
I believe so, yeah. Usually defaults to.
So by
if
default,
we don't
if we
elect-
don't
elect
appoint
them, it
one,
defaults.
then the
Megan's
director.
done phenomenal. She carries a permanent title.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it defaults to the director, right? The director of development services, so. Okay,
Or their appointee.
or their appointee. Okay, so we have 2 open positions for the year, and I just will point out that Kurt is not here tonight. And he's not been here multiple nights, and he is, probably needs a little more experience there, but.
Well, I was wondering if you're gonna say maybe he should get out because he
No.
misses those same meetings every year.
As long as I'm not vice.
I'm sure. Oh, man, I'm just looking at my.
He could probably use a little more experience.
In January.
I'd nominate Kurt for chair.
Okay, we have a nomination. Were you gonna nominate a vice chair, or?
Sure, I'd nominate Brady Christensen for vice chair. Give you a break.
All right.
He's giving me a bad look there.
He's a bigger guy too.
But I'm faster.
Bribe quicker.
All right, we have nominations, second on that. Any discussion on those nominations?
Sound great.
Okay.
Any name that's not yours, right?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Any update on next month's agenda?
I'm not sure. I do believe there is one rezone, which this new RU2, RU5 probably won't be adopted by then, so it gets in under the old code. And a subdivision amendment, but I think that's about it. And then we'll bring back the frontage and access for public hearing and the subdivision stuff for public hearing.
Great.
Will that other one with RU2 go on 2 county council meetings from now? Not the next one, but the one after that?
Yeah, so the next one's next Tuesday, and then they don't have any regularly scheduled ones till January 13th. So it'd probably be the second, set the hearing on January 13th and then hold the public hearing at council on the second.
I just know there's one landowner wanting to move that one as fast as possible. If there's any way to get it on next Tuesdays, but for the set the hearing one. for the
Mr. Chairman, I
13th.
had 2 questions, comments, whatever. Just one that I really enjoyed well, 2, I was able to attend 2 of the 3 meetings that Nolan organized. And I think that was extremely helpful, beneficial to be on the same page with the council as well as be educated by the public sources you had. The second question
May I
is,
say something? If we're discussing this in your first meeting in January, and I know we're in the holidays, but is there any ability to meet again before that January meeting so we have a discussion on the subdivision? What's your thoughts?
steak and shrimp somewhere, we're all over it.
I'm handing out cards that you can go buy steak and shrimp today, so.
Christmas season, real generous.
Yeah. I wonder if we take a look at that and
that
see
needs to
how
be
close
emailed.
that draft code.
Yeah, meet that in the next week, and then let's have a
Yeah, if we
Google vote or
think that's
whatever.
pretty close, then maybe we're good for that one.
'Cause
Cause I
I'd
think
love to
this
get
one's
out.
gonna get us good for like a year. In my mind, we're gonna pass this one so that we have time to work on the real ordinance that needs to be passed.
I agree.
So I have forwarded it to Angie.
Perfect.
To share on it.
Yeah, she'll send it out then.
So my,
Have everybody's.
whenever you're done with that one.
Okay.
My second question / concern is just a continuation. We've got a huge weight on our shoulders with this water sewer stuff. And I don't know who's gonna bear the cost, if the first applicant is gonna bear that cost. But I still would reiterate, yeah, if there's one there and you move next to it, but what happens if one moves on top of you and you have zero say?
Yeah,
Zero compensation, but it drastically affects perpetuity. We can do nothing with our property now, nothing,
Yeah,
except
I
for
was-
farming.
I was glad you
And
brought
there
that
ain't
up.
nobody that's gonna change that if this water holds to its.
Yeah. That's why I brought up the point that I made about that, you know, we pretty much rubber stamped a lot of water projects that have come in. Hey, we're gonna put a water tank
Well, we
above
had
town in
nothing to
the
say even
county.
with that one, cause it went in the city, but it's right
But,
on the
ag-
county.
agreed,
border.
but I mean, we've had like water tanks up above Richmond.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at those very differently, at least I will in the future, and say, well, this is gonna have a major impact on all of those properties around there. So Richmond City, if they wanna put a water tank up above town, they need to have maybe a condition in there that says that they will accept sewer hookups from those residents there.
Well, and I think, to your point, Brad, you're right, we didn't hear about that one because it was
Oh,
in
I
the
set
city.
Matt off.
But I think we can amend our county-wide zone protection areas to where if your source protection area goes outside of your city limits into the county, then you've got to come to the county for some of
Well,
that.
if we got a
approval.
300-foot notice, we'd be notifying them. And I mean, we weren't asleep, but there's zero we could do.
That's what I mean, but if it had to come to us because it went into the county and outside of their city limits, then maybe there is. 'Cause I do agree, there's gonna be more of those, and if we start requiring private water systems, right, in some of these subdivisions,
It's gonna affect
they're
them.
gonna, and so I think if it is affecting other private property, we need to look at that, because that is taking someone else's property right away,
So
potentially.
just as
But none of those need a permit from the county.
No, that's what I'm
A
saying, we need to figure it
a
out.
water tank is a zoning clearance, that doesn't even count. There's no extra conditions with.
Has
a
that
water tank.
changed? Because we've seen those multiple times through the planning commission.
The way it reads, and Angie and I have had little discussions about this, but that's only if that pipe size of the water is over 18 inches, and that's just not very common.
It's a code
We
that
got
we need to
canal
look at
companies
then.
coming for permission to pipe their canal, but we don't have to have someone coming for permission to take someone's property rights.
And it's, you're gonzo.
Yeah.
But that's not even the tank, that's the drilling of the well. And you don't need anything from the county. You can go drill a well anywhere in the county you want, and you don't have to talk to Development Services, Public Works, or nobody.
And you drill a well, that's where your source
That's where your
protection
source
zone
protection.
comes from.
Yes, and I thought when the water guys were here a few weeks ago, they said something about that there needs to be a notice, but Lewiston drilled theirs in the county with no notice.
Right, it's so on the boundary. Well, they were in the county till they
Annexed it.
hurried and annexed it, which is all smart, and I compliment them for everything they've done, because it's made their community better and benefited the people.
I do
But
think
it
they came
didn't
in.
help us.
I think they drilled the well before they annexed it in, but.
They did.
They did.
But most of the municipal wells are in the county. And if they don't have to come in, then I think, I'm with Brady, I think that should be, come to the council, they should need to get a permit or a CUP or some type of a thing that the notice can come to the neighbors, we can talk about it, we can discuss, because that's an exaction on Brady's property.
Could that be, is there a certain gauge of well or certain acre feet, or is it? Because
I would
not
think it would-
every well
I would
would
think
have to.
any municipal water source well or culinary water system. So it would be those, if they're gonna be a private or, a single person's well, wouldn't hit that. But I think there is a trigger similar to the 7-lot subdivision,
Because that's
right?
what we,
If it's a well that's gonna be used for a community water system,
However, another scenario I've got is, I have our springs that we filed on for our cattle, we water and we drink out of it, but the land within 600 feet is for sale. And so that, you know, there actually is no protection, because I can't file for a source protection
yeah,
area.
because it's too small.
It's too small, but
It's not
it-
a community water system.
Yeah,
They could ruin you real fast.
Yeah, if they go up there and build there.
but I think where we're looking is probably looking at what triggers a conditional use permit in our distribution lines, our water lines.
Yes.
And those type of infrastructure, that then if we found out someone was drilling a well and Nate got wind of it or someone could say, hey, did you, by the way, that needs a X, Y, Z permit from the county. But right now, what we require for you to come in for a conditional use permit doesn't include any of those things we're talking about. And it's a little fuzzy on transmission lines, water lines, sewer lines. You could have this
He just
huge
added
sewer
6
line.
months to our ordinance.
yeah.
Well,
But it's
we-
good to
we
start
know-
looking at it all.
We know that it's like dynamite because we witnessed it here
Yeah.
tonight.
Yep,
But I see that same dynamite should be considered
the other way.
the other side of the fence before it even happens.
Correct.
I think that's what Matt's talking about. I
100%.
I
It's
think we
good
could work
discussion.
with Division of Water Rights in the county, where the county's notified anytime one of those wells is filed for.
Good
There's
discussion.
gotta be a mechanism there.
Just as we close, just thank you. That was a lot of stuff on the agenda. Thanks for all the discussion and all the efforts that you've all put in on this. It's an honor to be a part of this group. So thank you very much. And we
Thanks
got
for
done
getting
before
us
8 o'clock.
out of here
Yeah,
before eight.
before